Hello and a very good evening. Welcome once again to that time of the month where we dive inside the ring. My name is Ryan. I'm your host for tonight, and I realized is this shirt making those weird patterns on your screen? It looks like it has those little moire patterns, when you the line this fine. Anyway, I don't know. I might be a personal optical illusion here tonight as I sit here in this shirt. That is merely the side entertainment of the night. The main course of entertainment tonight is digging into the pages of the Linking Ring magazine. You know, that magazine that every member of the International Brotherhood of Magicians has been receiving for how many years? 50, 100, I don't know how long you've been in the IBM, but let me know. Let me know how long you've been a member, how many shelves worth of Linking Ring magazines you have, and where you're listening from. Please, you can type into the chat if you're watching on Facebook. If you're watching on YouTube, you can comment there on the side, and we have the ability to see your comments, respond to questions. So please chime in. This is an interactive experience, the best we can do. And of course, Charles is here from Cincinnati, Ohio. I think Charles, if I haven't already awarded it, Charles should get the #1 fan award because he has been there pretty much every show, and he's always among the first to comment. So welcome back, Charles. Appreciate you tuning in, as always. Now, tonight is episode number 12, which means this marks having been at this little project for a year, which is a bit of a milestone. I realized today it's not quite the birthday of the show, because the birthday technically would be after the 12th episode, so you won't be around for the birthday of the show. But hey, Eric, listening from Syracuse in Utah, and Doc is coming in from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I appreciate you guys coming in here and chiming in. So we have a show tonight that is going to dive into some of the interesting things you don't get to read about in the magazine. This is a behind-the-scenes look, and even more than usual tonight with our special guest. And later on the show, I like to dig in and try out some tricks. You know, we always get these magazines, but how often do you actually crack them open and try the tricks? And that is my secret mission, if I have one of this show, is to encourage people to actually try things. And tonight, you'll see later on, I have another experiment, something I built today from the pages of the Linking Ring. And we'll see how it works out. It's always a bit of a surprise to me. Carrie is listening in from Bay City, Michigan. Thank you very much for tuning in, Carrie. Tuning in. I see you holding a guitar, so you're tuning into the show. See? Comedy. Okay. And, of course, we also dig into some of the history. And tonight I have a bit of a focused topic. Well, for a good reason, which I'll get to later. We have Mike Powers joining us from the Card Corner as usual. But before we get to all that, we skip the appetizers and we go straight to the main course here on Inside the Ring. And Carrie's chiming in. Yes, a magician and a musician. Me as well. I play guitar, play banjo. I appreciate you tuning in. Actually, I wrote a song. I was considering playing it tonight, but it's a whole other thing. When my friends Murray Hatfield and Teresa were on the cover of the Linking Ring, I wrote a tribute song for them on the cover of the Linking Ring. You know, same as the Dr. Hook, Rolling Stone, which has been done before by multiple people. But I put my own spin on it and did a tribute song for Murray and Teresa when they made that cover. I realized I can't play it on the show because Facebook has this algorithm thing that if they recognize copyright written music, they shut the whole show down. So I didn't want to risk it to play my rendition of this song. So you're welcome. And Mike's tuning in from Kentucky. Hey, Mike, thanks for joining us. Now, I got myself distracted. Back to the main course of the evening. It is my absolute pleasure to introduce my featured guest tonight because this is someone that from the moment of inception of this whole idea of a show, I knew I wanted this gentleman to be a guest on the show, but I was kind of shy about it and too timid to actually ask. However, we ended up, I think it was at the annual business meeting of the IBM. We ended up waiting for a session to begin, or we were tucked away in the corner that we're not allowed to be on the executive, secret pushed out of the room kind of thing. Anyway, we had the chance to chat, and it was there I got to ask him, and he was very open to the idea and found some time in his schedule here tonight to join us. The prestigious editor of the Linking Ring magazine, the thing that we're all here to talk about. Please welcome Sammy Smith. Hey, Sammy, thanks for joining me.
Ryan, how are you? Great.
I'm doing very well. Joining us from Florida.
That's right, Central Florida, just about 30 miles north of Orlando.
And that's one thing about this whole virtual thing that we've been doing for the past year. I found it made the International Brotherhood of Magicians far more international.
That's really true. It really does. I think we have members in 88 countries now, so it's fantastic to see that people from all over the world can participate in the same event at the same time, if they're willing to stay up in some parts of the world.
And Colby's here from Watson, Illinois. Hey, Colby. Joe is also a musician. I know Joe's a big fan of musical theater and musicals. And Dale Salwak, he says, Sammy's looking good with the necktie.
I'll have to get you one, Dale.
And Wee King Meng agrees. Looking good, Sammy. So I actually put on this collared shirt because I knew Sammy would dress up. But anyway.
Well, I haven't been able to do a show since January 2020, so I thought this would be the time I could wear a coat and tie. So.
That's right. We're pulling out all the stops for sure.
Right.
So you have the job of being the editor-in-chief of the Linking Ring magazine. And how many years have you had this role?
Well, 2007 I started. In the first issue was April 2007. The board conducted interviews or final interviews in January 2007. And then I went up to meet with Phil Wilmarth in North Carolina, helped him put together a small piece of the March issue, and then he threw me into the ocean with the sharks, and I did the whole April issue by myself.
So that was a pretty quick transition then. You had like half a month.
I mentioned this to him later. He said, I knew you could do it. He said, I just threw you in and let you swim.
Yeah. So. Well, you have a background in publishing. It goes quite a ways back, right?
Right. That's correct. Yeah, I got a degree in journalism, and then my wife and I had a printing company turned into a publishing company. Mm-hmm. With self-publishing authors, and then I was editing a magazine and doing some other editing work. So, and I'd known Phil a while I'd written for the Linking Ring in the past.
Yeah. So it wasn't exactly new territory for you.
Not exactly, but I remember that first issue I was working on. I wrote to Phil about halfway through. I said, "I'm laughing out of desperation at how long this is taking." I just couldn't believe it. I was going and working. And I was like, "Wow, I still have like half the issue left to do."
Why was it? Why did it feel different than a normal publication?
Well, there was a lot more detail to it, a lot of different aspects. Of course, you have the trick sections with the trick columns in the parade, and that's very detailed, and you want to check the credits to make sure the description is correct. Thank goodness for Tony Dunn, who's been with the magazine 35 years.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
And Tony just received a lifetime award from you in the Linking Ring.
Well, he received that lifetime membership from the IBM, unanimously voted on by the board and the membership annual business meeting, and then he also received the Linking Ring trophy, which is now called the Bauman Wilmarth Trophy. He received that this year.
Yeah.
Well, but Tony's great. So anyway, he's very good. In my opinion, is the best artist out there in magic today, but he also understands all of the nuance of tricks. So he's been a big help since day one. But there was just a lot of detail, and it's about 160 pages a month. So that was more than I was used to doing.
But now I always I'm always really interested in how things work and the process of things. So quick side note on this, while we're talking about Tony Dunn and his illustrations, how many times, is there a giant archive of his illustrations that you can just pick from, or is it fresh every time?
He basically starts from scratch. He does have an archive of, if you need some basic
Because I would think, a packet trick doing a biddle count, that must be in every second issue.
Yes, he has some standards, but we had one issue a few years ago. I think he did 100 illustrations for the parade. He almost killed me over that one, but that's not always the case. Sometimes they're simpler to illustrate. So.
Yeah. And now you have a couple people on your editing team as well that kind of have their little department. Is that right?
Oh yeah, we have a great team. A lot of people actually involved: assistant editors, associate editors, columnists, proofreaders. Ring Reports editor, Dr. Steve Schlanger, is the Ring Reports editor and does the Ring events as well. So we have a great team. A lot of people working on every issue. Rose Cardenas is one of my copy editors who helps. Dale Solwack, assistant editor. Rolando Santos working behind the scenes on opinions about different articles, and so we have a great team. It wouldn't happen with just me, that's for sure.
Well, it's an amazing thing, to think about that you and your team are basically publishing a magic book every 30 days.
Right, that's a good way to look at it. It's about 2,000 pages a year.
Yeah, it's no small feat to coordinate all that, for sure. And I just wanted to put a reminder out there to the folks watching. This is your chance. If you have any questions about the Linking Ring magazine and how it works, we have Sammy here. So I will ask him your questions if you want to type them in. I have lots of questions.
And this is a moment for me to promote and say any of the people watching who would like to contribute an article to the Linking Ring. We are always looking for material, and the email address is editor@magician.org. So
yeah,
an idea or a manuscript, please send it in.
I'd love to ask you more about that, because that's mentioned in every issue that you can contribute. But what in your mind makes a contribution stand out? What are you really looking for? What would make your day?
Well, I always I lean toward historical features myself, especially things that have never been revealed before, original research. And for example, on the whole Blackstone series of articles by Adele Reindress, she I think has written 7 or 8 articles for us, just details that have never been in any books before.
She was there.
Right. The time Blackstone came to her house for Christmas and sat down, at the piano. It's just this type of thing. So I like the historical aspect, but also on the trick section, originality is great. Presentation. I think people have a lot to offer. Sometimes they don't realize it, but we've had some pretty amazing parades. We've got columnists like Mike Powers, who is unbelievable every month.
Yeah, he must be one of the most consistent columnists in my experience of the Linking Ring.
Mike is great. We've had some really great columnists. In fact, we had such a variety. One month, this was some years ago before John Calvert passed, but I looked at the issue and I thought, we have a columnist who's 20 years old, and we have a columnist who is 100 years old. That's amazing.
I see. Is it CC asking for more children's magic in the magazine? And let me tell you, later on, the trick that I'm doing might tickle that fancy. So
right, very good. Well, thank you, CC, for that feedback. I agree. I would like to see more children's magic in the.
Yeah, because you yourself are a family entertainer, and you've written books and lectured on that topic.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, when I got out of college in 1982, back in the dark ages at University of Central Florida, they had failed to mention that you had to earn a living. And so I started doing daycare center shows to make money. I thought I could be a journalist and be writing about, convenience store robberies and car wrecks, or I could do something I liked. So I went into doing daycare shows. So I did probably 4,000 shows for schools and libraries and daycare. So that's my roots, and I love children's magic. So So CC and anyone else out there, if you want to send in some kid show ideas, we'd love to have it.
So when you receive these tricks, this to me seems like such a gargantuan task. How do you, like, what's the process of verifying or vetting those tricks to see what's new about them, or if it's been published before? Or how do you navigate that?
Well, there's a series of people who look through every contribution, and some have, like Tony Dunn, for example, has an extensive knowledge. If there's something I'm in doubt about, I have people on staff that I can send something to, especially if it relates to a specific area of magic that I know somebody has expertise in. But I would say, well, the number of steps, we get a proposal for an article or receive the article. I look at it, respond to the contributor. We give that to a copy editor to proofread and do some work on. They send it back. I take another look at it. I may send it on to one of the assistant or associate editors. I get it back. I send it to Tony Dunn. He goes through it. So, and then at the end, there's also galleys. Those go back to the author sometimes. We also have proofreaders who just proofread the galleys. So there's a whole series of stages that an article goes through. So somewhere along the line, and yet, it's 160 pages a month, and you pour yourself into it, and then you finish and you finally upload the magazine and you print it, and it comes in the mail, or I open the app on my phone and I look on page 63 and there's a mistake. How did that happen?
And like, there's that whole gauntlet that these things have to go through. What's the time frame of that? Like, if you get a new contribution, when might it get published?
Well, part of it depends on the amount of work that needs to be done. Part of it might depend on if we have enough of that type of feature in the pipeline already for the next few issues. Sometimes things get published within a month or two. Sometimes it might be longer, a year. People can get quite impatient and wondering, is it ever going to be published? If we said it will be published. But
so you have kind of like a little waiting room area.
Yeah, there is, and there's a lot of factors. Like
so it's like, we need less something, more card tricks this month, or we need more this month.
Right. Yeah, right. And you might have two articles that have similarities, so you don't want to run those in the same issue. And somebody on the cover has written a parade for their own issue, so you're not going to run that separately. So then a parade might get bumped down.
Gets bumped, yeah. John is chiming in. He says, "I've been enjoying David Ginn's articles."
Oh yeah, great, very good.
He's been writing about his own adventures of magic over the decades. It's been an interesting series.
Well, it's that's a fascinating story, because what he's on right now is his trip to Europe with Doug Henning in 1966, and that's so interesting to see what Doug Henning was doing in 1966. This is when he had a haircut. And you see pictures of Doug Henning and David Ginn, you think these two young men were just starting out, and they both had successful careers, and David still has a successful career, but certainly went in different directions. But here they are traveling for 6 weeks across Europe.
Yeah, it's
yes.
And I think that seems to be a really common theme for a lot of the columns, is that these people who have just lived a life in magic, and now they're getting to the end of their adventures and are recounting tales.
People want to share, and and people can share at all ages and levels of experiences. Somebody might think, well, I've only been in magic 5 years or 3 years or 2 years. What can I share? You have your own viewpoint from where you are, and there's value in that. So no matter how long you've been involved, there's a possibility of writing an article that can help some other people and also give you some recognition.
Yeah. And one thing that, I don't know, from my perspective, seems to be less common these days is the idea of a ring parade.
That is less common than it was years ago, and I would love to have more of those.
Yeah, because in that case, you don't need to contribute this. You don't need to carry the whole weight yourself. It's you
Right.
go around the room and everyone shares kind of their best idea or their favorite
Yes.
idea.
Yeah, that's right. I'd love to have more of those. And that is actually a challenge for people to compile because they're running after the 10 people who said they were going to give something for the parade. And then you have 10 different editing styles and 10 different levels of writing ability.
Oh yeah.
And it would require some kind of reference material for the illustrations. Tony Dunn does amazing drawings, but he needs to see some concepts, even a rough photograph or a rough drawing. So to get those from a group of people in a ring is sometimes challenging. But we've had some very, very good parades from rings. Dr. Len Miner has contributed several that he's compiled and edited himself and come up with illustration material.
There's been a few times where I've gone back into the archives and found the ring parade from my ring, but 40 years before I was a member,
Right.
and these people that I only heard about that existed, and the fellow that my Ottawa ring, my new club here, is named after, Roy Cotty, contributed a lot to the linking ring. I was surprised at how much of his ideas I found, and to me, he was a really sharp thinker, or is still a sharp thinker.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what Scott Humpson, one of our associate editors, came up with this phrase, and I love it. The linking ring is the journal of record for magic and magicians since 1922. So you look in those ring reports, and this is documenting, and early on they weren't called ring reports, but they're still paragraphs or reports of what magicians were doing. But this has documented what magicians all over the world have been doing for the last century. And not just, the big name, Houdini, Keller, Daddy, Thurston, in modern day, Doug Henning, Copperfield, not just the big names, but people who are very excellent performers, amateur magicians, perhaps, but certainly have fantastic contributions to make. So that's been documented.
I was actually pleasantly surprised. I think it might have been last month's issue, reading through the ring reports, and somebody was doing my trick at a meeting.
That's great.
That's pretty cool that I'm able to contribute something, and someone I've never met before is able to share that with. It's a neat feeling to know what other magicians are doing and what they're up to. And
yeah, that's great.
And there's lots of even though the ring reports I find have obviously very expedient descriptions of everything. It's Joe got up and did this with that. There's many times when it's like they got up and did ambitious card with a pet theme or something like it. Just gives you a hint of their presentation. There's been a number of times where we're like, that's an interesting idea. That gets my gears turning.
That's very good. And as you say, you see some of the names from the past. You see when David Copperfield, before he was David Copperfield, is in the ring reports, and I like to look back to IBM Ring 130 in Jacksonville, where I went as a child and teenager, and I can read names that I recognize very well. Mike Rogers coming to lecture. Bob Hutchings was running the shop. The meetings were held in. It's just fun to go back and say, wow, that happened in that year, and look who was in the room that day. There's Fielding West, before he went to Las Vegas. Those types of things.
Do you remember when you first joined the IBM and you started receiving magazines?
Oh, I do vividly, because my great uncle Conrad Smith was an amateur magician. He was an insurance salesman, and he was a very delightful, genial old fellow. He always had a magic trick in his pocket. He'd pull it out and show his potential clients. But he was great. But he attended Ring 130 in Jacksonville, and I remember going to his house. And after a meeting and sitting down on the floor, he had this bookcase with linking rings in it, and I was just fascinated. I was looking at these, paging through and looking at the pictures and the tricks and the magicians. And he said, well, I would let you take some of those with you, but actually you have to be a member. Well, I was too young to be a member. I said to my dad, Gene Smith, uh, who you'll find on the records as an IBM member, would you join so I can get the linking ring? And he did, and I just loved getting it every month. A lot of important things happened as a result of that. I met Fitek Sanders through the linking ring, is seeing his name on the sick and convalescent list, and writing to him, and just life-changing events through the people that you meet. And that's what started the IBM in the first place. The idea was that it was going to be a correspondence club for magicians. And the story, Gene Gordon and Len Dennis, by different names, Melvin McMullen and Gordon Avery from Winnipeg and Manitoba and Lyons, New York, started corresponding with each other, writing letters, and they'd been members of the Amateur Magicians Correspondence Club before that folded. So they said, let's start a club, the Brotherhood of Magicians, Gene said. And Len said, let's call it the International Brotherhood of Magicians.
Got at least 2 countries already, yeah.
Right, and that's how the whole thing started. It was just 2 magicians writing and wanting to put magicians together, and that's what the linking ring continues to do. And the other thing is that local ring meetings are just really, I think, the backbone of the organization as well.
Yeah, I remember, before I got into doing this show, I didn't spend that much time going into the archive, but this has forced me to do it. And being able to go back to those very first issues, and it's like you said, it's just people saying, hey, Jeff in Appleton is up to this, and Joe's over here doing that, and it's just an update on who we are and what we're doing.
And it goes back, we were talking about this earlier, but the linking ring, going back to the mimeographed edition, this was December 1923, but the first one came out in the fall of 1922. Just a very simple publication, but has grown through the years. But Ryan, I just applaud you for what you've done with this show in 12 episodes, all of the research, and all of the effort it's taken to be consistent every single month. So thank you.
Yeah, I don't know if I've revealed this secret until this moment, but before I started the show, I didn't read the linking ring that often. I'd read it occasionally, but
where's the exit button? Just hold on just a second.
Because I think we all go through that in our membership as a magician. It waxes and wanes. And when I first got the linking ring as a kid, I would every single page I'd memorize it practically.
Right.
But then you take it for granted, and it just piles up, and you have a stack of 5 you haven't even taken out of the plastic wrapper, and but this show has just opened my eyes to, as I say, as members, we're sitting on a gold mine, and we're ignoring it a lot.
Well, there is at every issue, and I'll give a plug for Dale Solweck's column, even though he's not wearing a necktie tonight. His portrait of a professional is just excellent. That literally, in my opinion, is worth the price of membership. And this is knowledge and information being passed on from Dale, but from his mentors, Neil Foster and Benny and Marion Chavez and other people that he's met. But it's just a few pages a month, but those are gems. And
if you stack that up, that's a new showmanship for magicians course.
Right. So much. That's
Well, Sammy, is there anything else you wanted to share? Any insider info you got for us here tonight?
Well, I just want to encourage people to take their linking rings out of the plastic bags.
That's right. Step 1.
and check out the app on your iPhone or your Android device. Also on the website, magician.org. There's an online digital edition and a downloadable PDF. So check that out. And if you have any ideas, stories, tricks that you want to contribute, or see if they would be find a place in the linking ring, by all means, send them in.
I see one more suggestion here from John Piercy. He says a list of lecturers from various rings from across the country would be helpful. I guess getting to know who's out there lecturing and
All right, very good.
Yeah.
I want to mention also, Ryan, that that is a good idea about the lectures, and we're hoping that things will be opening up here in person soon. But right now, people are lecturing all over the world through Zoom and other platforms. But I just want to mention for this group watching tonight, there's a booklet on this story of the linking ring. And we have this available as a PDF file. And if you're watching this and you would like to have a copy of the PDF of this story of the linking ring, if you'll email editor@magician.org and just put in the subject line linking ring booklet, I'll get that off to you in a few days.
I will be doing that. I'm very curious. It just popped up the email address there, editor@magician.org.
Hey, Ryan, thanks for all you do and for all your technical knowledge for the IBM with the jam videos and everything you did on the
It's been a unexpected year, I'll tell you that. It's Alex that roped me into all this.
Yeah.
And Dale has chimed in. He says, thank you, I'm wearing a tie now. Your influence is spreading.
I feel better.
And it's all credit to Sammy, who kept encouraging me to do the column, he says.
That's encouraging is a very nice word. I was after Dale for years. I was after Dave again for years to write up the story of his trip with Doug Henning.
That's always been my experience in my brief foray into publishing. It's a lot of arm twisting and that's right, begging for send something. But, well, Sammy, I'll let you get back to work. I don't want to be personally responsible for the next edition being late.
Okay.
So I'll let you get back to it.
Terrific. Thanks so much.
Very much appreciate your time here tonight.
Yeah, my pleasure.
That was Sammy Patrick Smith, the current editor of the Linking Ring magazine, and the man without whom this show would probably not happen, because he provides the source material for everything that we talk about in this show. And as he mentioned, be sure to read your Linking Ring, because it's widely available. I've gone fully paperless. I know I've talked about this a lot. I've gone fully paperless. So I go onto the website every month, and it's usually out the first of the month, available for download. You don't have to wait for the post office, which has been a nightmare this past year. You can get it and dig in and see what's in there. There's good stuff. So this is my new motto. Let's see, where did I put this thing? Oh yeah, there we go. Keep calm and read the Linking Ring. I don't know if they're going to print up T-shirts, but that's what I got. Moving right along, I'm going to pass the virtual torch over to, as we mentioned with Sammy, one of the most reliable contributors to the Linking Ring, and in turn, the most reliable contributor to this show, because he has set the precedent for putting Linking Ring content into video form. So it's Mike Powers here with the Card Corner. However, there wasn't a video to go with this month's column, so I went back into his archives, which are available, and found something from February of 2020. And I'll let Mike take it from here.
What follows is a handling of the Apex Aces, which was originally published in 1962, going on 60 years ago, in this classic book from Harry Lorraine, Close-Up Card Magic. There's a lot of great material in here. This is one of the first books I got on card magic, and I learned many tricks that are still in my repertoire from this book. So find a copy and put it into your library if you don't already have it. Harry attributes the Apex Aces to Frank Garcia, who came up with the original idea of vanishing the aces one by one. But the really cool work is also described in this book by Jay Ozzie, which is Jay's addition to the Apex Aces, which involves having 3 selections made and lost in the deck, and then after the aces have vanished, the deck is spread, and they're found in the center of the deck having collected those 3 selections. It takes the trick to a new level. So what follows now is a new handling of the Apex Aces, where the vanishes are done slightly differently, and in which the last vanish is done in kind of a visual way. So let's take a look at that now. We'll assume that 3 selections have been made and lost in the deck, and they are, for easy memory, the Jack of Spades, Queen of Spades, and King of Spades. I'm going to stand up to demonstrate the Apex Aces and come in a little bit closer. I want you to watch very closely as these 4 aces vanish one by one, starting with the Ace of Hearts. Watch. Hup. Just that fast. Gone. Let's try it with the Ace of Clubs. Same thing. Watch. Hup. G-O-N-E. Gone. Ace of Diamonds. Let's just give a little rub with the Ace of Spades, and as you can see, that ace has also vanished into thin air, leaving just that Ace of Spades. I'm going to try to vanish this one in a really visual way, just by passing my hand over it like this. And as you can see, there's no aces near the top, not near the middle, not near the bottom. They're G-O-N-E, gone. But if I give a riffle, they come back. Not only do they reappear, but as you can see, they have collected some cards. Those cards are the King of Spades, the Queen of Spades, and the Jack of Spades. The Apex Aces.
You can find that if you dig back to the February 2020 issue, which is available online at magician.org, Apex Aces Redux. Mike Powers' card column. He'll explain everything. Everything will be explained unto you. You go back and take the magazine out of the plastic wrapper and read it. That's just a little teaser of what you've been missing out on. And now it is time for a little segment I like to call the really, really late Magic News. I should have put on a tie for this. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the really, really late Magic News, where I dig into the pages of the Linking Ring and find the curious little tidbits of magical history, the little bits that are left on the plate that might be inconsequential at the time, but given a bit of history and context, they become perhaps interesting. No big promises, but perhaps interesting once again. Tonight, I am going all the way back to December 1993, which doesn't seem that old unless you're talking about the internet. And in the scale of the internet, 1993 is ancient times. So we go back to December 1993 with a report from Stacy McKenzie. As the sun comes up over a small town in Tennessee, a soft-spoken woodcrafter / magician presses a button and attends yet another IBM meeting, his 10th for the week. In Washington, D.C., a magician attends a ring meeting on his lunch hour. At midnight in San Diego, a magician brews a cup of tea and attends a ring meeting in pajamas. At 30,000 feet, a magician produces a laptop computer, plugs it into the Air phone, and attends a ring meeting. All over the country, similar scenarios are being played out, and in a tiny suburb of Los Angeles, another wizard / magician brings them all together by keeping a watchful eye on his complex computer system designed to do just that. Bring magicians from all over the world together electronically. Welcome to Ring 2100, the very first global electronic ring, the only one of its kind. The ring was granted its charter at the IBM convention in Quebec, Canada, in December 1993. It's the brainchild of David Lichtman, system operator of the Magic Computer Network, and Tabby Crabb. The new ring was designed for two specific purposes in mind. One is to bring IBM members from all parts of the globe together as members of a truly international ring, and the second is to provide a ring for members who do not have access to a regular meeting for logistic or other reasons. And Ring 2100 started with 22 charter members. And the president, David Van Vrengen, says, "We have a lot of ideas and some great people helping out. This is definitely going to be the ring of the future." That's the way they talked back then. Grandiose. Internet. The internet was going to take over the world. And it says at the end of this report, joining is quite simple. Use your modem to call 818-896-7450 unless you have a 9600 baud modem in which you call 818-896-4839. Simple. That's how you join the ring meeting, which today doesn't make a lot of sense. This is old school internet, because if you don't know, if you're not a real computer geeky person like me, the internet existed before the web. What we know as the internet is actually the World Wide Web. But the internet existed before that. And you could connect with computers through the phone line, but you wouldn't visit web pages. You'd have to know where to dial your computer to and connect. So this was the magic BBS, bulletin board system. So you'd be able to sign in, phone in, and get your messages. And these messages were left by text from magicians all around the world. So what we might know now today as a forum or a news group, this was the origins of Ring 2100. So I found some more little tidbits from the history of Ring 2100. In April 1994, the next year, what a month January was. We welcomed 4 new members during this time. It's always a treat to welcome new members into the fold. As happy as that made us, disaster struck in the form of a 6.6 point earthquake just 3 miles from our ring headquarters. The systems operator, David Lichtman, was working through the night, sometimes with superhuman effort. He managed to bring the magic system back online within 24 hours. However, he reported heavy damage to the furniture and the office of the Magic Computer Network, which is a second home for all of us who log on regularly. And believe me, once you get into the habit, you can't pass the computer without logging in to see what's new. I was a member of Ring 2100 in what might be called the second era of it. This was the first era when you had to log in with a modem. Maybe it was even the third era by the time I joined. When I joined Ring 2100, it was an email news group. And you could send in an email to the list server, and it would redistribute it to all the members around the world. And by that group email, you'd be able to have these conversations. So here's a Ring 2100 report. July was an interesting month at Ring 2100. Magic was the main topic. Chop cup routines evoked at least 12 comments. What's the best motor for an aga levitation? Where do you find a good 3-ring routine? What are the secrets for an Ascanio spread? What world coins are best for magic? How many ideas do you have about presentation of the candle to salt? What's the best one-hand coin vanish? You know the answers to these questions? Neither do we. But this month there was a lot of ideas expressed about each of them. Is everything great? No way. But you don't have to read everything. Just scroll through and delete what doesn't interest you. That's what it's all about. I remember I was in Canada, in Calgary. We would have a ring meeting every month, and we'd have a lecture that passed through every 3 or 4 months. I was starved for magic. And this Ring 2100 was the trough of magical information at the time. It was nonstop, able to discuss magic. So it goes on, they're discussing their options as a ring. We're still planning to move onto the World Wide Web and publish a homepage through which ring members could access using an appropriate password. However, many of our members do not yet have access to the web. Remember, this is pre-web internet. Not everyone had the web, even though they had the internet. Anyway. So what it was you would have to make a long distance call, and they had members in New Zealand. One prominent member was Alan Watson, who runs the New Zealand Magic newsletter. And so he would have had to call across the world to access his magic messages. They ended up branching off and having a Ring 2100 section in the Magic New Zealand bulletin board. So little sub-community of IBM Ring 2100 happened in New Zealand. I know Paul Romney was a member at the time. So as you can see, being the first online ring presents some unique challenges, but fortunately it also has special privileges and opportunities. Unlike other rings, we meet 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and we're accessible from anywhere in the world. If you have a computer and modem, join us and help make magic history. More reports. It's an exciting time for Ring 2100. We welcomed 49 new members in June, including 13 from New Zealand. Our whole ring is undergoing construction as we seek ways to define our mission as the first ring in cyberspace. We've been working hard on our bylaws and mission statement, both of which should be approved by the time you read this in the linking ring. We even elected new officers for June in the coming year, and we ended up with a great group. We had the whole world to pick from, because you have the whole community of magic gets together. And the most inspiring thing that's happened to me in the past year is being able to connect with magicians through Zoom meetings or forums like this. And really, you're not just limited to the folks in your general neighborhood who get together and share tricks. What you could do is focus in and find all the earlier tonight, all the musicians / magicians, so we could get together and talk about, I don't know, writing songs about magic. I don't know, but you can really focus in. You can just have a night for card tricks. You could just have a night for children's entertainment, as we were talking about earlier. However, things went up and down for Ring 2100. So the last ring report, I believe, that I found was from September 2014. So it's not bad. That's a 21-year run. Is my math right? 21 years. September 2014, they said, it's been rather quiet on the ring for the past few weeks, but that doesn't mean we are not here. We are open 24 hours every day. If you have any comments, advice, or questions regarding the art of magic, then feel free to join us on Ring 2100. Best wishes from Austria, Roger Thompson. And that was, as far as I know, the final sign-off of Ring 2100 in the linking ring. As we mentioned, I've been kind of had my arm twisted this past year by Alexander, who was last year president of the IBM, and got me into a lot of this techno stuff for the IBM, doing broadcasts and meetings and lectures and all sorts of interesting things. And through that process, I've met some fantastic people who have been hosting their own ring meetings online. And all this to say, long story short, I've been twisting some arms of my own and pulling some strings and getting people on board for a resurgence. If you want to join in, from no matter where you are in the world, we're getting the ball rolling again on Ring 2100. You can head over to ring2100.com. There's not much there yet. We're just getting started, but the important thing is you can put your name and email address in there, and we will let you know. We're going to start off with an open house meeting, to welcome magicians from around the world and share what our plans are for this rebirth of a ring. I've talked about what it's going to take to reactivate the charter and make sure it's an official ring. And we're doing things by the book, and we'll be back in the Linking Ring magazine with our ring reports. Magicians just hanging out, sharing magic, sharing ideas from around the world, which is what it's all about. So be sure to visit ring2100.com. Do not miss out on this rebirth of the global magic ring. Now, I'm excited about that. However, it does come with a bit of a trade-off. I love starting things. I love getting the ball rolling on things, but I don't like being the one responsible for things. So as I get this ball rolling and put my energy into restarting Ring 2100, which I think it's going to be an amazing process. I'm super excited about it. However, it does mean the sun will be setting on what I'm doing here. This Inside the Ring, here we are, episode 12, completing a full year of monthly episodes, and I'm going to be calling this the season finale, perhaps the series finale, but we'll see. Chances are it's going to end in this current form, but I believe the idea and concept is going to get rolled into other things. It make a lot of sense to me to have Ring 2100 meetings that are about what's in the Linking Ring and digging up magic and seeing who can find interesting things in the pages. Because it's not just about me. This show has always been an open invitation and encouragement for others to do the same. So this monthly broadcast show where I'm the face of it is coming to an end, but I hope the spirit of it carries on in other forms. And speaking of the spirit of it, I want to get to what is probably my favorite part of this show, and truly the reason that I started it. Was my favorite thing about this whole thing was digging in to the archives and just finding some interesting, fun, cool, amazing magic tricks and dusting them off and sharing them with you. So here we go. I didn't look very far for this one. This trick is actually from the current issue. I didn't have to dig back at all. This is one from the current edition. And I have adapted it a little bit because I find this is the reason I encourage people to dig in, because when you read a trick, it's one thing. It's going to kind of go in one ear, out the other. But if you actually try a trick, in my experience, it triggers your brain in a way, and you're going to start thinking of variations and things that, I might try it like this. That's exactly what happened to me today. I set out to share this trick with you, and immediately I thought, what if it could be done this way? And I tried it, and I built a prototype. I remember the episode I did about the magic of Joe Bruno. I was talking about rapid prototyping and just making stuff out of paper. And so today I was making a few prototypes. So this is actually second prototype you get to see. Anyway, let's get to it. This is a children's family entertainment trick. I am not a children's performer, so I'm going to demonstrate but not perform. Here we go. This is me, huh? But it's not always me. Sometimes, now I'm going to do a little magic trick here, so watch close. Sometimes, got my finger stuck. Sometimes I'm not always, happy. Sometimes things change, and sometimes I might get a little bit sad. See, it changed, huh? That's me. But that's okay. That's okay. All it takes is a little. Got my finger stuck there. Hang on. All it takes sometimes is a little bit of magic, and I just wave my fingers, and just like that, I'm back. I'm happy, huh? That's a pretty good trick, right? Amazing. And of course, hopefully at this point, children might be yelling at you about what they think this trick is really all about. And asking you to turn it around. I go, oh, okay, sure, I can turn it around. You're right, that does make it a sad face, but that's not quite the same. I go, no, you got to look on the other side. Oh no, it looks good. Looks good on that side too, etc., as you do. But you can take this and just magically change it, to be sad again. But that's, hang on. You're probably not convinced, but all I do is wiggle my fingers, and just like that, it changes back to happy. Huh? Okay. You know what? I know you're on to me, but I'll tell you what, I can't wait to see your face when I turn this thing around, because all right. That's that. That is the trick. I thought it was an interesting idea. That comes from Ian Adair, who did a Hocus Pocus parade in this month's magazine, and that is my little twist on his idea called Happy Face, which caught my eye. It's actually the first trick in his parade this month in the September 2021 edition at page 76. You can check that out. And Ian Adair, actually, I don't know if he holds the record, but probably in the running for having invented more magic tricks than anyone else. It's actually a goal that he set out for himself, to write hundreds of magic books and create thousands of magic tricks. As a result of that, a lot of his tricks are pretty simple concepts and straightforward ideas. But to me, I find the simple tricks are the ones that you can really dig into and adapt and play with. And that's exactly what I started doing with this one. So I encourage you to check that out for more magic from Ian Adair. And I know he must have, I don't know the number, but dozens of parades going back over the years from Ian Adair, and also compiling parades as well for the British Ring parades every year. But that brings to an end this episode. That is all I have for you this episode. And I missed some comments here. Joe was chiming in. He totally remembers the old BBS systems. Yeah, I think I remember meeting you, Joe, on these old things. And I also missed earlier on, Joel is here watching from Australia. Good morning, Joe. Thanks for tuning in. And Gerald's here from Georgetown, Ohio. And Tom, the most illustrious, Tom Gentile, is saying he's going to miss the show. And it is a lot of fun. But, my point of this is that I encourage everyone to kind of do their own version of this show. You don't have to broadcast it, but dig into the pages, and you can bring it to your local ring meetings. Bring it to your magic club. Say, hey, here's a cool thing I found in the linking ring. There doesn't have to be any other reason for doing the trick other than thought it was neat, wanted to try it. Here you go. Charles, you are very welcome. And as I said, I totally appreciate you and all those folks who have tuned in so regularly to make this show happen. I wish it could have been a birthday episode, but as I said, I did the math, and the birthday would technically be next month. So I'm at the end of my first year. It's not my birthday yet. Thank you very much, everyone. And I will bid you adieu. Good night, and take your linking ring magazines out of the plastic.